Good morning, everyone. Well, it's afternoon at the time of the recording of this. That's because I've been so busy the last couple of weeks in the mornings, I haven't had time to make videos. So I'm trying to catch up now that I have a little bit of downtime. So one of the questions I get occasionally from a client who has a bigger home is how can I get Wi-Fi throughout the house? Not as simple as you would think. Even the more high-end Wi-Fi routers that are on the market today, um, like I just put one in for a client a couple of weeks ago, only has a 2,400 square foot um, circle. So it's kind of like no matter what you do, their house is like 3,500 square foot. So no matter where I put that router, there's going to be holes. Fortunately, they don't utilize the entire house, so that helps because then I was able to put it in a more centralized location to help them. But yeah, when it comes to routers, they have a range. The further you go away to the router or go away from the router, the weaker the signal, the slower your connection is going to be. That being said, what can you do? Well, you could put in Wi-Fi repeaters. Um, they are devices that pick up your signal, repeat it along the way, and it goes the other way. You could get them as the wall mount type devices. You could put them in your home. You just plug them into your wall socket, you connect to it, you provide it with the Wi-Fi information, it connects and it rebroadcasts the signals. Those work good. They are limited though, because the technology on the Wi-Fi repeaters hasn't caught up with the Wi-Fi's. So they are usually a generation behind for Wi-Fi signals. Now let me show you a couple of examples of Wi-Fi repeaters so you kind of get a better understanding of what I'm talking about here. You can pick these up just about anywhere. In this case, I'm looking at the Best Buy website. They're relatively inexpensive. You plug them into your wall socket, you take a Wi-Fi device, you connect to it, you program it, and it catches the signal and broadcasts it on. And the nice thing about these is you can actually move them, and as long as it's still within the signal area of the main router, it will pick up the signal and continue it on. So if you need signal boost in like the living room, you could plug it into the living room, get it programmed, connected, and then say you need signal in the bedroom, you can just pull it out of the wall, take it upstairs, put it in your bedroom, pop it in, and it will catch the signal and repeat it. As you see, this is a relatively inexpensive solution. Uh, 50 bucks is about the normal range, but they have them on sale, or you can buy the cheaper ones. So this for residential services would be, an inexpensive way to resolve the problem. However, it gets a lot more complicated and a lot more expensive. Say you need to go from your home to your garage. Uh, and yeah, I've got some people like that, where they're going from their home and they need to go out to a building that's outside. And now you come into distance and range. And this is where these will not work because most Wi-Fi routers, again, the average range on a Wi-Fi router, just a basic $60 to $80 router, is 1,000 foot. And that is in a circle. So it's 500 feet roughly each way. So that sounds, so 500 feet, that sounds like some good magical distance. Not really. Uh, so it's amazing how short 500 foot is, especially when you take into account that building materials reduce the signal strength. So if you've got steel and concrete, that's going to diminish that range even more. So 500 foot sounds good, but if you start going through, if say you have it in your den in the front part of the house, and you have to go through 4 walls before you even get to the outside of the house, and then the wall to get to the garage or the barn or whatever, every time it goes through a wall, it weakens the signal and you lose range. So sometimes the solution is not this. Certainly you can use this inside the house, but when you're going from one building to another, you need another option. So what you normally need to do is go with a PoE injector. Now these are PoE injectors, and what this does, and this is especially important, is where you're sending your signal to if you don't have power. What these do is these take power out of the internet or out of the wall socket that it's plugged into and pushes it along the device to wherever you're going. So let's say the house is 1,000 foot to the barn. Well, there is no amount of signaling that's going to reach that. So you're going to need a PoE injector in the house from the router, and then you're going to run a wire. And there's just no way around that because you need to push that current or that power to the next device, and you're going to do it through this. And yes, it's going to involve some trenching, and it's going to involve some piping. PCV pipe is good. Garden hose works wonderful, especially if you're putting it in the ground. But yeah, you're going to run this wire, and the maximum length you're going to get on an Ethernet cable, don't care who you are, 300 foot. That's your max, and that's really, really pushing it. Now, if you want to go fiber optics, you can go up to 1 mile, but fiber is very expensive. It's cheaper to go with this type of a setup. So you put a PoE injector in the house. So you got your router, and then you put your PoE injector, and then you run it out to 300 foot. The next thing you're going to hit is going to be a PoE switch. This is going to repeat it. So your PoE goes in one, it comes out the other, and you continue down the line. Every 300 foot, you're going to have to put one of these. And this kind of sounds like, why would you do this? Because it's the only way to do it if you're going 1,000 foot. And you just repeat this process, and you just keep going until you reach that distance. Now, there is a limit on PoEs also. 300 foot sounds, a good distance, but you can only do 2 hops, 3 at most, I think, with that. So with your third hop, or at the end of the line, depending upon where you're at, hopefully you've already reached the barn at this point, because you're doing 300. You're doing another 300, that's 600. That's your second hop. 900 foot is the end of the road. You're going to get on a PoE injector. And so, yeah, you're at your end of your rope. So you're probably going to go at that point with a PoE router. And this is, you're going to stick it up on a pole in the backyard, run the wire up, and you're going to hit this router. Or you're going to hit an access point. One of these. And what that does is going to broadcast it out that way then, and then that would does a PoE router or a PoE access point does the same thing as a router in your house, except for if you're outside, you've got a lot more range because there's nothing blocking it. So at that point, like I said, then you can then you could take one of these inside your barn, catch the signal, and run it from there. Usually on the bottom of these, yes, there is a well, this one only has internet only, but some of them do have an Ethernet port, so you can run a cord right off of it to where you need to go. But that is how you do long range. Now, if you're going to do this in your house, say you have, a big 35,000 square foot house, you're going to run these all over the place, and you're still going to use PoE just to get the range, because when you start doing 3 hops is like the limit on things. Just from my personal experience that I've seen, well, professional experience, 3 hops is your limit. If you're going to go more than 3 hops and it's more than 1,000 foot, well, 900 foot would be the limit. Then you're going to have fiber optic is the only way to go. Then you don't have a choice. But this is how you could do all of this stuff. And I've got clients who literally run from their house through an underground conduit into their barn or into their garage. Fortunately, it's only like 400 foot, so in the middle of that pipe, 24 inches into the ground, there's a box. So that's one of these. So the signal goes in, it hits this, repeats it down the line. So yeah, that's how you could do long range or large area coverage. Kind of generally how hospitals do it too, but hospitals are using these type devices. If you're walking through a hospital or a big office building, and you see them hanging on these ceiling tiles, that's what these are. These are PoEs with access points. So that's what you use them for. So, but that's how you get long distance or high area coverage on Wi-Fi. There's just no other way around it. It does get expensive. Excuse me, wasn't expecting that. My stomach is doing its thing today. But that's the only way around it. Now, the next video is going to be on super long range stuff. a little bit outside of my area of expertise. However, I am aware of them and I understand the concept of what they do. So catch you in the next video. You guys have a great day. I'll talk to you later. Oh, and yes, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff down there. Plus, we added a PayPal link. Catch you on the other side.